Welcome everyone to the lesson. The subject is known as communication skills. The topic is a new one, namely group and team communication. This topic has 5 sections. The first one is group communication networks. Number 2, team communication. Number 3, communicating in virtual groups and teams. Number 4, meetings. Number 5, conferences and symposia. In today's session, we are going to study the first section, which is group communication and networks. Group communication networks. Group communication networks. That is our area that we are going to focus on today. So by the end of this lesson, should be able to explain various group communication networks. Now, candidates, let's first define group communication. Now, group communication, just as the name suggests, it takes place when there are more than 2 people involved. If you have minimum of 2 people communicating, then you say that is group communication. It takes place where there are more than 2 people involved in communication. The number of people will be small enough to allow each participant to interact and converse with the rest. So in a group communication, every member of the group has an opportunity to communicate. So the number should be small enough to allow everyone to contribute. Things like press conferences, board meetings, team meetings are examples of group communication. And unless a specific issue is being discussed, small group discussions can become chaotic and sometimes difficult to interpret by everybody. Group communication. So what are these group communication networks? We've defined group communication. How about communication networks? Group communication networks. Candidates, a group communication network or just communication network refers to the method in which employees pass on information to other employees in an organization. And communication can flow in a variety of directions within the organization. That is what we are referring to as internal communication, and can flow between also organizations. Information can flow within a company where, for example, a finance department communicates with the, say, sales department internally between employees. Information can also flow between the organization and its constituents, between the organization and external organizations. Now, candidates, in an organization, members contact each other. And the pattern of contact and flow of information is what we are referring to as communication network. Communication what? Network. So in this lesson, we're going to discuss 3 communication networks. 3 communication networks. The first one is the chain network. Chain network. The second one is known as the wheel network, and the third one is the all-channel network. All-channel network. But let's first describe the chain network. Now, under this network, the chain network candidates, the members in the network transmit members transmit messages via one person at a time, via one person at a time. Members transmit messages via one person at a time. Members transmit, let me put down that, members transmit messages via one person at a time. Members transmit messages via one person at a time. And this is how that chain looks like. The members transmit messages via one person at a time. One person at a time. So if this member has a message, that message is transmitted to this member. Then this member again transmits the message to the next member, one person at a time. One person at a time. One person at a time. The formal chain of command is strictly followed. The chain network. That is the chain network. Now, the second communication network is known as the wheel network. The wheel network. The wheel network. Now, candidates, here, under the wheel network, the leader plays the key role. The leader does what? Plays the key role. And how does the leader play the key role? Other members depend on the leader for group communication. What does that mean? That means that the members route communications to and through one person. Wheel network. The wheel network. And this is how the wheel network looks like. That is the wheel network. The wheel network. The leader here plays the key role. This is the leader. All these members pass messages to each other through the leader. Here we have the leader. He plays a central role, the key role. Members depend on the leader. If this member has a message for this member, then that member here must wait for the leader to get the message from this member. If this member has a message for this member, then this member has to rely on the leader to get the message from this member. The leader does what? Plays the key role. Members route communications to and from the leader. To and from the leader. And this we have seen it in, say, in projects that require very close supervision. The projects that require very close supervision will use the wheel network, communication network. Members route message through the leader. They receive the messages through the leader. This is the wheel network. Wheel network. I've said that the wheel network, I repeat so that you remember. the leader plays the key role. Members depend on the leader for group communication. Members, let me write it. Members depend on the leader for group communication. I've also said that members route messages to and from the leader. Members route messages to and from the leader. That is the wheel network. Then let us see how the third network looks like. We are moving on to the all-channel network. All-channel network. All, this is number 3, all-channel network. All-channel network. Now, the all-channel network may also be referred to as the circle pattern network. Circle pattern network. It's also known as the circle pattern network. Also known as the circle pattern network. Now, under this communication network, this network allows all group members to communicate with each other freely. It allows all members in the network, in the group, to do what? To communicate with each other freely. The circle pattern network or the all-channel network allows all members in the group to communicate with each other freely. That means that every member talks directly to everyone. All right? Every member talks to each other freely. And this is how we can demonstrate it in a diagram. So you can see candidates. That is the all-channel network. This member can communicate to this member, can communicate to this member, can communicate to this one here. So this member can communicate to this member, can communicate to this member, can communicate to this member, can communicate to this member. This one you can see communication is flowing in all directions. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one again you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. This one 1, 2, 3, 4. All members in the group can communicate with each other freely. It allows all members to do what? To communicate with each other freely. So these are 3 group communication networks. Just to recap what we have done today, candidates, we've introduced the chapter Group and Team Communication. We've defined communication networks. We have defined in our today's lesson group communication. We firstly defined group communication, then we defined group communication networks. We've gone ahead to describe 3 communication networks, 3 group communication networks. The first one is the chain network. We say that under the chain network, members transmit messages via one person at a time. This member cannot receive any message apart from this one. And this one has to wait for information to come from the first member. So we say that it strictly follows the chain of command, strictly. This member cannot communicate directly to this one. This member cannot communicate directly to this member or this member. This one has to wait for message from this member. This member has to wait for information from this member. This member has to wait for information from this one. And this one relies on the first member for messages. Members transmit messages via one person at a time. We've also described the wheel network. We said that the wheel network, the leader plays the key role. Here, this leader plays the key role. All the members depend on the leader for group communication, whether it is relaying information or or receiving information. All members must wait for this leader for information. Members route communications to and through the leader, to and through the leader, to and through the leader. The wheel network. We also described the all-channel network, which we said is also known as the circle pattern network. We've seen how the information flows here. We've said that this network allows all members in the group to communicate with each other freely. Members can interact freely. Every member talks directly to everyone else in the group. And here, candidates, this network is mostly used where teams have similar job functions, such as engineering, such as construction of projects. Such jobs may rely on the all-channel network. Okay? Members can communicate with each other freely. So that will mark the end of the lesson. I'll give you one question as your assignment. Describe 3 group communication networks. Thank you for attending our today's lesson. I hope to meet you in our next lesson, where we continue to study more in relation to group and team communication. Bye-bye.